When the atomic bomb fell at modernity's end, so too did reason. As World War I broke out, reason was all that could be clung to by the thinkers of the imperial core as a notion of absolute truth after their fellow feeling was shattered and their cushion from the outside world corroded. The atomic bomb cannot exist in a world where reason is the truth, however, and so is the world spaghettified into one with computers and planes and distortions of space-time. There came a world where truth ceased to exist, an infinity of realities at all moments created by everywhere and everywhen. And so this multiplicity of existences birthed the conspiracy theory, access to the Akashic record of the unregulated internet combined with a disillusion with absolution, truth birthing alternate truths down to the fundamental realities of the universe. The coagulation and pastiche of these beliefs, the epic apotheosis of the untrue truth, happens to be an accursed Gnostic digital tome among these archives. The drowned god sings from beneath the waves, its aquatic entombed corpse bringing with it a siren song that brings its believers to their own watery grave, its creator having killed his wife and then himself in its thrall. Drowned God: Conspiracy of the Ages is a pre-rendered adventure game from 1996 in the vein of Myst. Using the same structural trappings of uncovering a secret teleology of the island that Myst takes place on, Drowned God purports itself as a means of understanding a new foundation myth for its own understanding of a divine narrative in the absence of one in the ruin of history. It is a deep descent into the bowels of alternate histories constructed throughout the 20th century, culminating in totalistic player self-madness, its own auteur appearing as a deranged phantom figure within its halls. It positions itself as a journey through history as the Kabbalistic tree of life, every time period named after a rung on the path to some higher forbidden knowledge. To understand the Drowned God, one must understand its constituency of lies masqueraded as truth, because it is the culmination of conspiracy in the postmodern.
Templar and King Arthur. The Knights Templar were a medieval Catholic military order founded to protect pilgrims on its way to Jerusalem in the 12th century amidst the fire and brimstone of the Crusades in all their fury. Their influence spread wide throughout the Middle Ages and worshipped Baphomet, what they believed to be the mummified head of John the Baptist. It is also believed that they had access to the Holy Grail and were descended from the Knights of the Round Table. In search of esoteric truth, even Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein joined their ranks eventually as an alchemic member of the order, men of reason searching for more. Their influence carries on today as one of the pillars of the Freemasonic order that control the world using this knowledge of the location of the Grail and the devilish wisdom of Baphomet divided by the mystical calendar of Stonehenge. So turns the wheel.
When player self arrives in the first environs of Drowned God, the smorgasbord of Anglo-Saxon and Celtic mythic images lay in front of them. Stonehenge, a Grail Knight, and even Morgana Le Fay herself are all encountered among the spaces of Binah. This menagerie of the White Britain exists with little thought to its construction, a randomness to the creation myth that asserts a Gnostic understanding that, in spite of the distinctly Middle Eastern origin of much of the ideas within Drowned God, that ultimately this is a Eurocentric realm. Those who are perceived as the world's greatest minds are both white, and the presence of the divine alien indicates that this is the absolutist way the world should be. Like most conspiracy, Drowned God only engages with the other in a fetishistic and aesthetic way, its angered ramblings only serving to uphold a nostalgic idea of a lost, glorious European past. There is no talking head of the Knights Templar, no zombified Morgana Le Fay suffering for her sin of womanhood at the fall of man as Eve to Merlin's Adam, and there is no evidence that indicates the socialist Albert Einstein was ever involved in any occult tradition secretly governing mankind. Stonehenge holds secrets, but those secrets are of culture and construction, not of the divine transmogrified into science fiction due to the postmodern condition. The mad god Gee cannot find his quarry beneath its architecture.
Layer 02. The Aztec conspirators had the death of Osiris. In the times of Mesoamerica, when the gods of the Aztec arrived from the stars, they conspired with the alien Antichrist Horus to murder his father Osiris. His tomb enshrined in the bowels of the aquamarine aquatic keeps him suspended in watery prison of Atlantis betwixt Starlight. Thus the true conspiracy of the ages is revealed as the original sin and Horus the serpent to Isis, who drowned God in the Garden of Eden. All human history was determined at the pivotal moment that Osiris was murdered by his kin, and the fall of man commenced not through their folly but the folly of the alien son inheriting divine sins the father could not yet dream of. These spoils allowed the Aztec their rise to power and feats of construction. So turns the wheel.
Chesed, that second dread time period in which player self must conquer and plunder for colonial ambition, is defined by Mesoamerican imagery. Aztec pyramids lining its grim procession in 3 stone figures representative of Aztec deities purporting to have slain Osiris, the aforementioned drowned god, and perhaps the most important mythic narrative of Egyptian folklore. Thus the conspiracy once more turns its head to a fascistic divine, once more an attempt to rein in the postmodern by returning to a previous genocidal understanding of truth. The global south is the oppressor of classical wisdom, who has murdered it not just in cold blood, but through trickery and deceit. The Aztec gods are false aliens as opposed to the ones who were supposed to shepherd the human throughout history, so the Necronomicon of the digital age purports. The conspiracy theory is justification for colonialist violence in the postmodern in much the same way as any mythology or theology may have been used in centuries past. It's a revenge fantasy blaming the fall of the West on peoples that never did it any harm in the first place. The conquistadors slaughtered and demolished the Aztec people for little reason other than a desire for power and to spread the faith of their god, not too dissimilar to Drowned God's own assertions upon the Aztec as a false culture with false gods in order to prop up its own myth of history.
Layer 03. The occult and the spaceship. In the realm of New Jerusalem, built in the mechanical monster of history, lies a cultist of the beast, a psychologist beyond his years, the immortal and the man of the iron mask. Each soul encased is one with an interest in what lies beyond the truths that the Catholic Church and other epistemic threats to the secret history of our world, from the Thelema scriptures of Aleister Crowley to the ufology of Carl Jung. They were imprisoned by the aliens in an artificial organism for their seeding of the truth beyond the pale. And so too is the relic hunter and poet Richard Henry Horne as the gospel of the true Gnostic history of the world. Listen to the beast Baphomet and his epistle, lest you be led to slaughter like the rest of the sheep. Harry Horse as Richard Horne as Richard Henry Horne, the prophet of the New Age ushered in by his revelation. So turns the wheel.
Feet set in the period of Deen defy the rhythm set by Binad Chesed. While those 2 locations were defined by specific aesthetics of history, Deen itself is entirely fantastic in its construction. This is where the supposed ultimate truth is learned on player path to the Philosopher's Stone, the conclusion of alchemic study. That truth is delivered by all the faces of history that drowned God has come to expect. Western Europe glorified through figures as the arbiters of the true knowledge that the rest of the world tried to lead it astray from the mummified head of the Knights Templar speaking the supposed wisdom the aliens have doctored the entire history of the human species, to Carl Jung preaching about the shadows that doppelganger birthed from alchemy. This is all in conjunction with an opposing player self, Richard Henry Horne, supposedly the Victorian poet, but also someone that the game's director, Harry Horse himself, has occupied positionality with by pretending his writing was his in a false manuscript that the rhythm of the game text emulates. So it is player self against player self, Harry Horse racing against the protagonist to collect all the relics and in doing so attempting to legitimize his own manifesto by falsely tying it to history just as he did 10 years before the game was released. He is not seen again beyond these shifting passageways and tunnels, however, having failed to find this truth and having failed to fool anyone with his esoterica. Perhaps he seeks to pass the torch on to the player to pass down the supposed knowledge of the ancients knowing he could not, or perhaps he truly is simply so mad he cannot be read.
Layer 04. The Philadelphia Experiment at Area 51. In 1943, the United States military conducted an experiment using technology from the gray aliens the government met during the Second World War in order to see if teleportation was humanly possible for a large military cruiser. The cruiser disappeared entirely and never returned. Around the same time in 1955, Area 51 was constructed as the site for human-to-alien communication via an elaborate web of stargates for the United States to hand over human sacrifices in exchange for weaponry strong enough to prevent asteroids from colliding with the Earth and killing off massive parts of the population. These experiments would lead to the chimeras sighted across Nevada and be the ultimate endpoint of the war for human self-determination against alien masters as the CIA sold humanity's soul to the stars. So turns the wheel.
So, the final destination that Drowned God transports its protagonist to is the culmination of all the skepticism and all the pseudo-historiography masquerading as the absolute, the outskirts of Area 51. These conspiracies and histories all in service of constructing a false present in which the people are all player self in a psychic war against the divine alien. It's the portion of the game whose anger is, on first blush, the most righteous, initially pointed not towards the feminine or towards the racialized other as so much of it is, but against the fascist regime of the United States, which has been a key part of many factual historical conspiracies such as MKUltra or its involvement in autocratic genocidal governments like Pinochet's rise to power in Chile. Though Drowned God finally points its ire toward the correct target, its rhetoric is still built on falsehood and those same colonial and patriarchal violences, chimeras and alien others being its focus as opposed to the true destruction that the United States has indulged in, under the veil of secrecy. Area 51 is exhumed not to illuminate, but reverberate the further cackles of the madman in the mazes of coal and steel. The true nature of the conspiracy's false myth is laid bare before the player, the material realities of the United States fall attributed not to its imperial ambitions, disintegrating in post-modernity due to revolutionary action across the global south and the east in tandem with their unsustainability, but rather because of alien intervention, the new colonial other. The Empire has fallen because it has lost its way from the teachings of Osiris and all his classic wisdom, and so like Morgana Le Fay, it has forged pacts with the demonic. The only savior, the madman Richard Henry Horne, trapped in a maze of other madmen from Crowley to Saint Germain. And so Chokmah is left. Player self-disappeared from it just as the cruiser allegedly disappeared near Philadelphia and the remains of the drowned god expounded. Harry Horse's grand design of history simply regurgitations of other lies fed to him by other liars.
Layer 05. The Ark of the Covenant. A lie will remain a lie. 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 A lie will remain a lie.
Drowned God is unfinished, its narrative concluding with the fifth of the artifacts the player sent to retrieve having been stolen already and the work ending on a cliffhanger. No matter whether the conspiracy is denied, embraced, or the player forges their own path, aliens will always take over the world in some way. Throughout the game's criticism written amongst this channel, it has been avoided to speak on the material realities of the authorship of a text often, something that often contributes little to the text for the purposes of analysis and theory. However, Harry Horse's literal presence as a major character in the work invokes him directly, and so it is a key part of understanding how this Gnostic occult text ultimately fulfilled its cursed positionality. Hardly 10 years after the release of Drowned God, Harry Horse murdered his wife and committed suicide in his own home. Though some believe there was evidence that it was external foul play, that it was a government conspiracy as his followers suggest, this is unsourced residue of Richard Henry Horne's ghost laughing across time. There is no drowned god. There is evil in the world, there is lies and deceit in the government, but there is no secret history of Egyptian aliens fighting amongst themselves for control. The entire work is a falsehood arguing for things that defy reason, and so it makes for an interesting case study into the rhetoric of the occult in the postmodern age, how post-truth has led to belief in the unreal, and how these supposed world-shaking conspiracies are truly just the repackaged detritus like the protocols of the Elders of Zion a century ago. The true conspiracy of the ages is just the forces of capital working as intended to destroy the world. There doesn't need to be a conspiracy where shared incentive structures meet. This has been Arcadian Everlasting, bathed in the occult from an early age with an eternal interest in it, signing off. Thank you for watching.
An old warm rug. A dog crawls. Oh. Oh. Something's wrong. Oh. Oh. The dog crawls. Lights blow out. A wind. Dark. Smiling teeth. A swollen tongue. The dog crawls. The socket drips. Disease. Hot. Electricity. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Barbed wire. Sharp. Tearing open red and wiggling. Wet dogs. Running swollen blue feet. Tearing. Scraping. Black oiled blood. Yellow. Saliva. Dark room. Broken window. Band-Aid. Old grease cotton. Green tear. Vinyl knife. Oh.
My name's Rissy, talking head of the everlasting Arcadian. Did you think that a secret that was guarded from skyhoppers to smudgebab down through the Andrew Blewett server, the 33 channels stored in the buried vaults of Arcadia Everlasting Official would be so easily given to you? Who do you think you are? Who are you? Fix me and I'll tell you more. Make it young, true, and happy.